this is the way in order to prevent a complete takeover of the planet by communism. So that's another thing. So there was winds of change blowing. So Britain's role as a world power by 1960 forced them to recognize there was irresistible wind of change. So note here. So this Suez Canal crisis breaks out during the time of the height of the Pluto return. And as a result of that, there was winds of change that the empire was now in terminal decline. So Britain adopted a policy of peaceful disengagement from its colonies. And in reality, this was very rare and altruistic. So between 1945 and 1960, the number of people under British rule outside of the UK fell from 700 million down to 3 million. Now, think about that. They had an empire of nearly 1 billion people that was reduced down to 3 million. 3 million by 1960-61. And what happened here during this point was the breaking point was when the Suez Canal crisis. Britain's position as a world power relied on the continued existence of the empire with the base of the Suez Canal allowing Britain to maintain its preeminent position in the Middle East in spite of its loss of its colonies, especially the recent loss of India. So the events at the Suez crisis wounded British national pride, leading to one British minister describing it as Britain's Waterloo, and another to suggest that the country had become an American satellite. So there was consensus that we're just an American satellite at this point. We need America. We're no longer a world power. The winds of change are here. The Suez crisis caused British power in the Middle East to weaken. It didn't completely collapse, but that was essentially because they got support from the United States. So the bottom line is that even Great Britain, that started in 1707, was forced or coerced into a transformation. Now, let's get to the United States. I had to give you that context because a lot of what happened in the Roman Empire and the British Empire sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Right? Let's take a look at the U.S. independence Pluto return. This wave function would be the same regardless what time you use for July 4th. So it started 2017. Wow, what happened in 2017? Donald Trump took power. He was not of the financial political elite. He was an entrepreneur who made it big, but he did not come from the gilded class of the Bushes, right? He certainly didn't come from the type of families that gave you the fast track to the White House. He takes over, and you could see here, he takes over during the time of, he comes to power, I should say, comes during the time of the Pluto return. And let's just go through events from the Pluto return. So we have the Pluto return, 2017, 2018, 2019. Look at 2020. 2020 is like we have a number of crises that are culminating between 2020 and early 2022. And the reason we bring it up now is because everything that's going to really define this period is going to be set up by what's going to happen right now. Let's take the line right here during this period, from here to here, from here to here. Now, let's just talk about what has led up to this, right? So Donald Trump comes to power in 2017, and then from 2020 to 2021. So events that are transpiring from 2020 into 2021, that's what we're talking about, is we have the impeachment of Donald Trump in January 2020. This is followed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Dow Jones Industrial falls by a single largest point drop in history, even greater than the crash on Black Monday in 1929. The U.S. GDP falls to negative 25%. By the way, negative 32% destroyed the entire Soviet Union, collapsed their economy back in 1982 during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. We suffered a negative 25% negative GDP. U.S. unemployment at 40%. U.S. enters the largest economic recession since the Great Depression. George Floyd, BLM, and Antifa protests break out nationwide. The Pentagon begins unidentified aerial phenomenon task force. Antifa and supporters of President Donald Trump overrun the U.S. Capitol building, forcing Congress to evacuate. Joe Biden becomes the 46th president in the most controversial and contested election result in U.S. history. The U.S. death toll from COVID-19 surpasses the number of Americans killed in World War II. That's right. As of today, the U.S. death toll from COVID-19 surpasses the number of Americans killed in World War II. So it took 4 years for 409,000 Americans to die. We achieved that number in less than a year. And then Donald Trump becomes the first U.S. president to be impeached a second time. So we are in, you could see, this is the beginning of the crisis. We are in the crisis, folks. When people say to me, William, what does this have to do with transformation? This has everything to do with transformation. Because let me tell you something. I don't care what university or new age school you're going to. You are going to get impacted from this. You are getting impacted from this. I don't care if you live in Tanzania or you escaped to New Zealand. If you have an American passport, you're from America, you're born in America, you're getting impacted by this. If you have a treaty with the United States, North Atlantic, you have this military treaty, trade treaty, whatever type of treaty, and you're connected to the United States, you're going to be part of this. No one gets away with this. So what I'm getting at is that this is not going away. This is not going to calm down. Now, what's interesting here is we talked about the Roman Empire where they put someone who was illegitimate in place of the emperor. So they assassinated.
If you'd like to watch the full presentation and more like this on geopolitics, the economy, and world events from an archetypal and mundane astrological perspective, join the Global Transformation Astrology membership. Go to gta.williamstickevers.com or click the link in the description for twice-monthly webinars with Q&A, access to the growing library of previous webinars, and a collection of information and resources on today's most important topics, plus a monthly Ask Me Anything session for Gold members. We are now in the middle of a massive collective psycho-spiritual death-rebirth process. Stay informed and be a part of the breakthrough, not the breakdown. Become a GTA member today.